All right, Sonnies, we spent a lot of time on this show celebrating everything that makes this county shine. But real love for community is meaning that we have real conversations. And today's conversation is about one of the most important ones that we're going to have all year. This is a word that you're going to hear during a lot during the segment. It's called ALICE, Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. Behind that acronym are thousands of our neighbors, the folks pouring your coffee, teaching your kids, caring for your parents, working hard, doing everything right, and still lying awake at night doing the math that doesn't add up. Our next guest has dedicated himself to changing that story, and he's with, obviously, the United Way. We've got Carl Creco back in studio. Carl, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Great to be back.
Yes. So we're diving into this conversation on Alice families. Can you give us a little bit more of a definition?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to understand Alice is somebody who is employed, works every day, could be a couple, two working parents in the household, and the cost of living, the cost of the necessities is outpacing your wages.
Okay.
Simple and plain, right? You can't afford FPL, you can't afford rent, you can't afford food, because your income is not in alignment with the costs of goods that you need to actually, just provide for your family.
So is it like you're barely making it, or you're just not? Are you like underneath the line? Because there's a difference between poverty.
Yeah, no, there's a big difference between poverty and Alice. I think what I see more than anything are people that are treading water, really, covering everything, but then have nothing to put away. There's no safety net. And then something happens, right? There's a car accident. There's a health issue.
Oh, right.
And those things will spiral the financial situation of that family totally out of control because it wasn't budgeted for, and their budgets are so tight. So what I see weekly are families that fit within this category that have something unexpected happen, and they now need emergency assistance, whether that's support for their FPL, for their rent, basic needs, but they can no longer afford them because that one unexpected event threw them off kilter.
Now, have you always been, has this always been a topic or a segment within United Way, or is this something that's new?
No, this has been an initiative for a long time.
Okay.
I think that, the focus on Alice was actually developed in New Jersey, where they really did a great amount of data analysis and crunching to isolate this group of people that were kind of being left behind. They're doing everything right, but the cost of living is outpacing the income.
Right.
And, you don't have to be an economist to understand that, like, wage growth has not kept up with inflation, right? Like, that is pretty obvious. I mean,
Right.
Google it if you are curious. So tracking the growth of that segment, understanding the needs within that segment, right? Like, what are the things that are keeping them up at night mostly, right? Is it housing? Is it health insurance? Is it food? What are those things that are really affecting this community so that United Way can step in and be as helpful as possible? So it's been an initiative for a little while now, and there's a couple layers of data underneath it. So you have the Alice population, which we defined, right? And then you have the emergency assistance funds that, I write checks for emergency assistance every week. It's up to $1,200 for an emergency need, be it FPL,
Amazing.
rent. But you have to be employed. You have to be a stand-up. You have to be who you say you are. And your situation needs to necessitate that emergency assistance. And we're obviously happy to do it if you meet those criteria.
What if there's somebody who's like, definitely they've been in the trenches, they've worked their way back, they're hitting those spots, but they have something in their background? Does that matter? Do you guys do a background check?
That's a good question.
Things
yeah.
like that, or like a
qualifying
drug
factors,
screen
yeah.
or anything like that?
Well, we really rely on the employer to do that, right?
Okay.
If you're employing somebody, then I assume that you have those checks and balances. We're checking with the employer. John Doe works at X company, is asking for assistance on rent. We call the company and say, hey, does John Doe work for you guys? Is this person show up to work? Are they who they say they are? Yes, yes, yes. Great. So, that's the amount of vetting that we're doing because we assume that the employer has already kind of checked those boxes.
Okay.
So, Carl, what about sustainability? I mean, I know United Way is always focused on that, especially within grant reward or anything like that. So, sort of, do you guys look at that? Like, is this a one and done for these people, or is this like you guys are also helping them with some financial assistance, but also helping them get on the right track to get caught up?
This is a great question. So, I would say emergency assistance you can take advantage of once a year. Right, so it is a quick fix, but in addition to that, we point you to other resources that can help you get a more sustainable existence. Right,
Awesome.
so say you're having housing issues, we point you in the right direction for housing assistance. There's a lot of resources out there, and if you can continue to check in, if you kind of strike out with one organization, you can call us up again and say, do you have anyone else to recommend us to? We'll help direct you as best we can to try to get you situated. But I think that there's that, and then and kind of a more macro level, we're working on this from a lot of different directions. There's policy and advocacy with the state, with the federal government that United Ways all over the country are doing. So that's kind of more of a long-term fix to try to get, let's just say, minimum wage, something along those lines, whatever it is. And then there's these kind of, quick fixes, and then there's the middle ground, which is long-term assistance that can get you to a sustainable state.
This
Which
is
we also help
amazing.
with.
It is an amazing program. But my
huge.
question is how do you prioritize the need? Like you said, what keeps them up at night, whether it's housing, whether it's groceries or light bill? When they apply, do you kind of vet those things? Is there like a metric that you go by of like, okay, these people really are in need of housing situation? Or,
Yeah, so we track all of the data that comes in for needs.
Okay.
And another great resource is 211. I think I mentioned it on the show
I love
before.
this. Yeah, let's try
Yeah,
this.
so 211, just to remind the audience, is a service where, let's say you are the person who can't afford the FPL. You call 211, it's an emergency line that will connect you to assistance to help get that bill paid.
Okay.
So you'll come to us, we'll write you that check if everything checks out. So 211 is a great data aggregator. So 211, United Way of Northeast Florida manages this, so huge shout out to them. They collect all the needs requests from 211, so you can see what is bubbling up to the top. And I'll tell you right now, housing is number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And within the housing bucket, it's about half the calls for St. Johns County are housing. And within that housing bucket, a good portion, about half of the half, so 25%, is rental assistance.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, rent
you
is
know,
ridiculous.
Rent
right
is
now.
ridiculous. Yeah.
It is. It's crazy.
It's definitely something that like it's there's people that own a house that's paying less on a mortgage than it is
True.
for the rent nowadays, which is incredible. Like how has the times changed and the United Way reflected on those times to make sure that assistance goes out?
We do the best we can. I think that you have a growing community here. You have property values and rent increasing, which, there's costs and benefits. I think some of the costs are that you have people on fixed incomes. You have people living on Social Security that have been in the same rental for a long time, elderly individuals.
True. Yeah.
So, how do you help that person? And then from a more kind of larger standpoint, what is the long-term solution to ensure that people who want to live here can stay here? That's a larger conversation. I've been in a lot of rooms where those discussions are happening. But that happens from local government, state government. That's really, we can kind of set some recommendations up and help people understand the data and the needs. But that's really a policy initiative, to potentially, let's say, develop more affordable housing. And then that gets tricky. What's affordable?
Yeah,
How do
true.
you define that?
Yeah.
Is that a percentage of income, or is that just a flat number that we decide is affordable?
Yeah.
So it gets tricky. I think that if you have enough people that understand the problem, that want to find a solution, good things will happen. And I feel like that's a possible, hopefully we get there.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely believe that too, that hopefully we will get there.
And the fact that there's organizations like the United Way and all of these ways that you can help the community and all the people need to do is reach out.
Yeah.
I think this Alice program's great because with the employed being in there, it shows like, yes, these people are working, but they're struggling.
It's unreal.
They're not just
to
looking
me,
for a
yeah.
handout. They're actually working to be productive. It's just times are hard.
Listen, I'm 44, right? I'm not that old. And I remember where I grew up was in the Northeast in a city called Hoboken, New Jersey.
Yeah.
My whole block was cops and firefighters. Now that same block are hedge fund managers.
Wow.
And the price of homes, my parents bought in the 80s.
Yeah.
And they weren't like real estate savvy. They just bought a house to raise their kids.
Yeah.
they sold that house for like 5x what they paid for it.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's happening in a lot of places around the country.
Happening
And
in St. Augustine.
That's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
my point, is that some of the things that I saw growing up in Hoboken and, Brooklyn, Queens, that whole area of New York City and New Jersey have seen, exponential growth in the value of homes, which, benefits some people for sure. Like my parents made out great, and I'm not criticizing that. But it's happening here, and I think it just raises questions of like, what's our job as a city? What's our job as a community? Because the economy kind of goes, right? And sometimes it's hard to keep up. So what are the levers to help people that can't keep up? And that's kind of what we're trying to do.
I mean, we're talking about teachers. We're talking about first responders. These are necessity employment opportunities for people out there that really have to shine in these moments of service
Yes.
to our community, and that's why we need to rally about it. So going back to Alice and going back to the qualifications, is this just? It says Alice families on there. Does that mean you have to be a family? Could you be a single person to apply for something? Okay, that's awesome.
100%,
Okay.
Yeah. And, one of the key things to understand is just what you said, is that these are people that are critical to our local economy. These are people that, are working in the service industry. These are people who are first responders. These are nurses. These are people who provide, especially nurses and first responders, a critical resource
Absolutely,
for all of
yeah.
us. We should want them here, right? We shouldn't want them driving 45 minutes to get to work.
Right.
Because then they won't end up coming. They'll get a job where they live. And then,
Right.
what's the labor market going to look like then? So
We
there's-
hear it all the time with nurses. I mean, there's a shortage of nurses. There's a shortage of teachers. There's a shortage of first responders because of that.
Yes.
And how can we as a community fix that curve? What's a good way that us could be proactive?
It's obviously there's local nonprofits that are doing the frontline work right now.
Yeah.
That you could donate to, you can volunteer with,
Yeah.
and that's definitely helpful. I'm thinking, Habitat for Humanity,
Yeah.
the Homeless Coalition, Port in the Storm, St. Francis House. Those are people that are dealing with the issues that are happening every hour, right? Not these kind of long-term changes in policy that take a long time. So donations are obviously helpful to your local nonprofit. United Way would be great too. Obviously, I can't not plug my own organization. But it really comes down to people who can make changes in a community, sitting down and putting a plan together, and figuring out what makes sense for us. Because there's a lot of stakeholders, right? There's people who own these businesses, who pay service workers, that want to keep them employed and keep them local. There's people who, are interested in ensuring that their real estate investments don't lose money, and I get that too. So, like, what is the
Where's
middle
the
ground where
balance?
we're all kind of together on an initiative that has the best outcome for the most people?
Yeah. Now, is this happening? I mean, you mentioned New Jersey, you mentioned St. Johns County. Is it just happening in these kinds of concentrated areas, or is this like a countrywide situation that Alice families exist?
In countrywide, I think that there's areas of the country where it's more pronounced than others. But yeah, this is something that is happening on a national level, where the cost of life is just outpacing, the average
Your
income.
paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple. And, I was talking about being 44. I remember in the 80s, and you could be a post office employee and put your kids through college.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not really attainable for a
One-
lot of people on a certain
I
amount of
remember
income.
growing up, my father was in the military. My mom was a stay-at-home mom
Yeah.
until, we all got school age, then she went back to work. But nowadays, you can't have that. You have to be a two-person working household.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the pressure that families have to deal with every single day.
And I think it's important for people to, kind of, it's not a political issue.
No,
It's not right or left. It's a human issue, and it's, we need to, if you're going to work 40 plus hours a week, and then still have to get a job on the weekends or drive Uber in order to, make ends meet, like
Yeah.
that warrants a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I know teachers that are bartenders on the weekends. I mean, that's absolutely
Pretty much every
absolute-
teacher you talk to.
Yeah, has a
Sometimes they're
side
working
gig.
a full job, and then during the school year, they're working.
Or
you
they're
know,
a salesperson on some MLM
True
company. This is
story.
Florida. Let's be
It's
real.
crazy, man.
So, I mean, these people are. I mean, and when you need assistance ASAP. What's that time frame look like for the assistance? Is it
question.
something that takes a month of application?
No, it's quick. And one note is that we pay the person you owe money to. We're not giving checks to the individual who's requesting
love this.
assistance. We're
That's
writing
awesome.
a check to FPL. We're writing a check to your, your landlord.
Okay.
Whatever that need is, we're writing a check directly to the vendor that you owe money to.
Okay.
Perfect.
And how fast is that? So let's say my lights got turned off by FPL. You guys pay that, and is that like my FPL account is connected to this obvious, the transaction? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, if you called up today, we would vet you within an hour, and we'd get the information needed to make the payment.
It's amazing.
What if somebody is self-employed or they're an entrepreneur?
That's
and
another good question,
How do
yeah.
you prove like
A lot of things.
you don't have an employer to call? So how does that work?
Taxes, I guess.
Yeah, there's a number of circumstances. Not everything fits nice and neat in a little box.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of circumstances where we'll get a call and we'll do some digging and make sure that this warrants the assistance. If you're self-employed, then you have tax returns. A lot of people are on Social Security who need support. So, they're not employed, but they have a Social Security check because they're retired.
I love this.
So obviously this program's been around for a bit. There's been some success stories. Do you have one in particular on how this benefited a family?
There are so many that come through. I think that, I'm just thinking as you ask the question, there's individuals who have come through for assistance on rent that end up getting recommended to, let's say the Homeless Coalition,
Okay.
that end up getting short-term housing that becomes long-term housing.
That's awesome.
Love
So
There it
it's-
is, yeah.
it's really the direction that person needs to go, and if we point them in that right direction and the doors start opening up, then good things happen, and we've seen that happen multiple times.
Yeah. I mean,
Absolutely.
I live by Volusia Woods, and it's an incredible project that Habitat has been working on for several years. And I talk to my neighbors, and to hear them to have, there's a lady, she is 100% Spanish and cannot speak English at all, but it's amazing that she has this opportunity to have a house and I can speak a little bit of Spanish, so we had this great conversation of how much pride she had to be able to have this opportunity. And I think that that's kind of what the United Way is all about, is making sure that these nonprofits are running efficiently and giving these services and expanding their services. That's I think the growth that I think the United Way wants to see in each and every single one of their communities. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And we also have, our own programming that really does focus on the Alice community, like our free tax prep,
Yes,
VITA,
big
free
one.
tax assistance, where if you're making under, I believe it's $68,000 a year, you get free tax preparation. Last year, we did close to 2,000 individuals for over $2 million in refunds
Love
that
this.
go right back into the local community.
I know so many friends that do this.
Yeah.
It's an incredible service.
So we know that a certain portion of the population has a very tight budget. So what are the things that we can do to lighten the burden? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
And it's time as well, because a lot of people have to be on the front lines and going to work and working multiple jobs, and taxes are overwhelming because it's like, it looks like a giant math equation, which it is, but you have the services there for you right in front of you, and it's not something to be embarrassed about, right? I
No,
mean,
not at all.
there is a sense of shame and fear when you enter this kind of dojo.
Yeah.
So like, can you help people guide how easy it is to be able to sign up for something like this?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's obviously we were closed for the year at this point, but once tax season starts up again in January, you go to our website, you sign up for an appointment. There's multiple locations to keep it easy, so hopefully there's one near your home. You show up. We have a certified tax preparer who's an accountant who knows all the most recent laws and regulations around taxes.
True.
Do your taxes for absolutely no cost. You walk out the door. And we have people who come who are like, I haven't done my taxes in 5 years.
Okay, good. Get
it's-
this
Oh,
out
yeah,
there.
that sounds
Well,
like my husband.
Yeah, it's like, well, then you got to make a few appointments, right? Because we don't want the whole line backed up.
True.
We'll take care of you. We'll sort you out.
Okay.
That's amazing, though, because there is that fear, and that's what I'm talking about, is erasing that stigma of, there are people out there that have services like this to be able
Absolutely.
to help people get through these times.
I think in this day and age, I think the whole, like, I'm afraid to go meet with people like that. Okay, to be honest, I understand it's scary, but if I was in that position, you guys would be the first person I reach out to. And there's no shame in your game if you get in a point in life where you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, calling on people who know their stuff, who can help you, because that's going to help you get to a better place.
Well, I'll tell you, this job, you know, I didn't really understand Alice and the needs as much as I do now. I mean, I can tell you some stories. I had a family come to our office probably about 2 months ago. Father, mother, daughter. Daughter's probably around 8. They're living in their car,
Oh, wow.
and he's employed.
Jesus.
See, that's real
And
right
he's
now.
employed. So it's like, what, you know, that to me is a canary in a coal mine. You know, like what is that? How does that happen? And like, what
Right.
are we doing to ensure that doesn't happen? So
Why do you think
it's
families wait so
eye-opening.
long?
You know, everyone has their own reasons. Everyone has their
Pride, I guess, too.
yeah, I think that's some of it. Or, you know, oh, this one thing will work out and I'll just hold off for that, and then it doesn't end up working out. You know, maybe there's a family member who's been, you know, kind of stepping in to help a little bit, and then they stop. I mean, you know, each situation is so unique. It's hard to kind of say that this is the reason. So not straightforward, but I think that everyone has their reasons, and, you know, I would just say, if you need support, you need help, reach out. You know, don't wait.
Where should they reach out? What's a good way to contact you guys?
Our website is a great resource. We have a page dedicated to emergency assistance where you can fill out a form. We'll get back to you that day.
Awesome. Hey, so what else is going on with United Way? I know you guys are kicking off your fiscal year July 1st, right? Exciting, a big year, and I know we're going to go above and beyond for our community, and it's amazing what happens when we live united. So what's it look like? What's the road
We got a
ahead?
big year ahead of us. So one of the main things that I'm really excited about is we have our 10th gala, our 10th anniversary gala.
Awesome.
So year 10, last year was the most successful gala we've had.
Last year was really fun.
That
We
was
had a great time.
We had a great time.
We
Yeah.
raised a lot of money for the community, the most we've raised in the gala's history. So
Fantastic.
I'm hoping that 10th anniversary, it blows that out of the water. It just relieves a lot of stress for my organization when we can bring in some money and know that
Yeah.
we can get the money out the door. It's the 70th anniversary of the United Way in St. Johns County.
Beautiful.
Wow.
So that's a big deal, right?
Yes.
That's a
Huge.
big deal. 70 years of service to this community. This community has changed dramatically in 70 years.
Yes.
I mean, I've only been here for 5 years, and I've seen change.
Absolutely.
So I can imagine 70.
Yes.
goodness.
But yeah, we're really excited about those two, you know, kind of celebrations of service. And in addition to that, we're really going to be focused, and this is why I was so happy to come on today, on Alice. I feel like that's going to be a real part of our messaging, our marketing. I feel like it's something that I feel is one of the more important things we do,
Yeah.
is focusing on this community. And, you know, supporting working families in need is really kind of the call to action for us as an organization. You know, working families in need. You know,
Yeah.
they're working, they're doing everything they can. And they need a little bit of help to kind of get to that next level and get more stable. And there's a lot of them, you know, and we want to make sure that we're touching each of them.
Absolutely.
So now, the name Alice. When you say Alice, I think Alice in Wonderland, Chase the White Rabbit, and all that. So is that where the name Alice came? The acronym came from? Where did it come from?
It came from New Jersey. I don't know.
I think a teacher came up with this because
I-
teachers love
absolutely.
acronyms. Absolutely.
It's a great acronym. It's easy to remember, and I think
Yes.
it sums it up really well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks so
I think
much.
this is such an important conversation and not our last conversation either, but I definitely want people to be aware of what you guys can offer our community and how our community can support Living United.
Well, I appreciate the time. I appreciate sharing the Alice community with you guys this morning. And for those of you out there, please check out our website and look for ways to support. You know, it all helps tremendously. So thank you.
Guys, I'm going to put that website in comments right now. We're going to take a quick break with Maritime Creative and Flashes and Brilliance.